located in Nassau County. I work with youth and schools and parents and families and couples. I do premarital. I help people with co-parenting and such, and do a lot of presentations and stuff with uh, community. Very community focused. I'm also the CEO of Long Island Teamworks, which is a nonprofit organization, and the team in Teamwork stands for Therapeutic and Educational Assistance Module. That's who I am. You could learn more about me and you'll hear more about me tonight. But I am honored to be here. And I want to, of course, thank John. I've known John for a long time, very close friends. I want to thank him for inviting me in. And Lee and Liz, thank you guys so much for seeing me and inviting me to be a part of this, what I believe is a very, very important initiative, right? The way that you're going about informing people, letting people know who you are and that you're there, and having the meetings and everything, but really reaching out and having a broader reach to a wider community is very, very important. And I'm honored to be a part of it. So thank you very much for inviting me. And so I am going to show this video. It sort of sets the stage for what we want to talk about tonight. But I will say this, like John said earlier, I am not a lecturer. I like discussion. I like feedback, back and forth. I feel that we learn more from one another. Like, it's great to have subject matter experts in the room, right? But everyone has their own story, their own perspective, and it's good for us to hear everyone's perspective. So if there are questions, if there, even if there's pushback, it's good to have pushback in conversation because you can learn from one another. So I'll leave it there. We'll set the stage with the video, and then we'll come back and we'll start to dive into our conversation, if that's okay. All right.
Thanks,
And if there's questions, please put it in the chat. We'll monitor the chat and we'll make sure that everyone is heard and seen. So let me see. Can I get to my share sound? Everybody, let me know if you can see it.
So I'm looking forward to having this conversation today about African Americans and mental health.
A lot in our culture think that you can just pray things away. And I believe in prayer, no doubt, but I also understand that not one miracle in the Bible occurred without the person needing the miracle taking action.
What's difficult sometimes is probably reflecting on being a community member who may feel like you've lost your role and you need help reconnecting.
We are such a strong, resilient people. And sometimes because of that, we have this, or oftentimes I think, there's this stoicism about us, and it's like we're not allowed to be upset, we're not allowed to have depression or anxiety.
So I'm excited to sit down with my brother, with my sister, talk about mental health in our Black community. Let's make it happen. That's a great question. And since I'm the least among these two, I'm gonna let I'm gonna let you guys go ahead first. Well, Dr. Logan, why don't you start out with that, if you don't mind?
Okay. So my why, I mean, and when it comes to mental health in the Black African American community, I'm reminded of a healthy cultural mistrust. We historically, Black and brown people have not trusted mental health or
Sure.
medical field, and have had good reason to, have had very good reason
Yeah.
to. And we can think about, slavery and how people were treated, how, the idea that we don't feel any pain. So I think
Yeah.
just the visual of us, the visual of people who look like those African American community, who represent that community, it releases some of that stigma automatically. And we have just never been given permission to not be
Right.
stoic
Right.
and to not just be like it doesn't bother us. Our men haven't,
Right.
our women haven't, our children have it, and I do think that it is hurting us. It's killing us. So being able to have some permission, and I think with permission comes words. Like there's so many people I've worked with that don't know how to put words to what's happening, and words are
Right.
so powerful, and we can heal through that. So that's a huge part of my why.
Shahid, you want to go next, brother Shahid? You want to go ahead?
I appreciate the invitation, Pastor. As you said earlier, Dr. Logan, there is a mistrust there because there's equally so a mistreatment, right? That's either driven by racism and the mistreatment, misdiagnosing, and the incarceration of folks who are copper, black, people of color, whatever it is that they would coin us as, in any time frame. Our mental health was usually leveraged against us to really be the basis of the science and laws that existed to enslave us.
Right.
It was considered a disorder to want to be free, to run, to flee, all those things. It was a disorder to not want to be anything other than what a white slave master wanted you to be.
Yeah.
And that's the genesis
Right.
of this industry. And go figure, with that genesis, we don't account for all the hurts, the pains, everything that's inhumane that's gone into this. And mind you, what I'm saying isn't like that's the way it is for everyone. It's just my reflection.
Such wonderful answers to that question. I guess for me, guys, it's I'm coming from a Christian point of view because I'm a pastor of a church. But I'm gonna tell you the mistake that our people make. They think that you can just pray mental illness away. You can't. You can't. There's no indication you just pray something away. If we study the Bible, if we study the life of Christ, I'm a believer, I'm a Christ follower, there's always some action that had to take place before the healing and before the miracle. But when Brother Shahid said that it was viewed as a mental illness to want to be free, right?
Yeah.
So if I flip that, let me ask you a question now. Like, is it a mental illness? Do you guys think it's part of a mental illness to want to be accepted by them in the worst way? Because I never really have, but because I didn't, I was always unruly. They called me unruly. They called me angry. And so with all of that, and in raising black males in my family, and now my grandkids are going through that. They have this desire to be accepted by this culture, by this people that really don't. If you can't dribble a basketball or catch a football or sing or dance, they're not really worried about your intellectual properties and how intelligent you can be. But bro, Shahid, when you said that, man, that it was considered a mental illness to want to be free, they still think there's something wrong with that.
Pastor Graves, if I may, I hear you pose the question, is it crazy to want to stay or be a part? And I go one above that, and that I think it's colonial.
Yeah.
When we think racism and its effects, and its dehumanizing effects and so many things, racism is still a tool. You know what I mean? There's a whole shed in which that tool has come from. And I feel it's colonization, and colonization it doesn't look good, feel good, and it's inhumane for any that are the perpetrators of it
or those who wind up experiencing it as victims or whatever the case may be, it distracts us, I feel, or I believe, from acknowledging that, it can't heal the pain that it's caused. It's going to take us returning to a certain way of actually being with each other. Something that, again, that was said by you, Dr. Logan, was this idea of permission. Imagine us being from cultures that heavily relied upon being seen, being brought into life, being given permission. And then when you fundamentally deprive people of that really crucial and critical cultural value, spiritual value, they're lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The word that comes to mind is validation. And it's important for us to give ourselves permission to try to find what our words are, to name what's happening, because it happens all the time and we're told it's not real. And it is real. We don't need that validation, I think.
For me, I get a chance to watch people heal together. And that's because we don't brush things under the rug. If a brother or sister are struggling in any area, let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. Let's try to point you in the right direction. I just think that our healing, our mental healing, is not something that can be done alone. All of these things that we're talking about, we've never talked about before. And that's what's celebratory about this conversation, is that now we can be better parents, we can be better grandparents, we can be better aunts and uncles. We can say, wait a minute, they need this conversation right now. Because I remember when I needed it and it wasn't available. And so that, I think that's the beginning part of us really recognizing the village is going to have to take part of it. You have to be in a community of people to really help us get to that place to where we are dealing with our mental illness and are becoming mentally healthy as we're walking this journey and in this journey of life. So.
Whether it's a world, another universe. I still see the green, which represents life. I can still live and thrive and grow, even in the midst of that pain.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Before we start, I want to just get some initial reactions, feelings, thoughts about what you've just seen. If anyone wants to start us off, anybody? Thurston, why don't you start us off?
Of course, absolutely. Listen, I can absolutely connect with every single point that was made in that video, right? At some point in my life, I can like those words are real to me. I was born and raised in church. I often I often joke that I could have been birthed on the front pew. I was born into Church of God in Christ from a young man. My first memory of my father was him standing in the pulpit as a preacher, right? So when he talks about people thinking you can pray things away, that's real, right? That's a lot of people's yes, Kojic Natasha, that's a lot of people's experience, right? Pray things away, pray spirits out, and all of that. But I also that was my first memory of my father. My last memory of my father was he was he was drunk and he was stumbling down straight path in my local town, Wyandanch. That was my last memory of my father. I saw him. I was with my friends playing in the summer, And the next thing I knew, he had passed away. So think about the dichotomy of those two memories. First memory, preacher in the pulpit, preaching, pastor of a church. Last memory, stumbling down the street drunk, and he had left our home, left my mom. But my mom held on to that relationship because she was a Christian. She wasn't about divorce. She would not give him a divorce. So all of these different things that we go through, I can identify with that. And we tend, for me, I don't speak for the entire community. We are a vast um, dichotomy of people and experiences. But for me, we just learn how to sort of tuck things away, not talk about it like we do today. I talk to my daughters about every single thing, right? But back then, we didn't talk about it. You just had to learn how to live with it, and that causes us to the way that we engage with relationships, the way that we engage with authority figures. It affects us, but we hadn't been talking about it. So the fact that we're sitting, talking, and allowing everyone into this conversation, because anyone from it actually, it's not just the Black community. I think this goes beyond just the Black community.
Right.
People hearing whatever happens in this house stays in this house, right? Don't talk about what happens here outside of the house. Now we're talking about these things in public with different communities, with people that don't look like us, that don't have the same experience as us. And that is vitally important. Lee, what you said earlier about being able to do this work together, you're absolutely right. Everyone needs to be able to hear everyone's story, because what you may think about someone may be totally off. Because if you're just going by what you see or the position that they hold or what their job is, you don't know the things that they've gone through. So again, I can talk all day. I'm not a lecturer. I want everyone else to chime in.
Right.
If you have feelings about what you heard, anything I've said or whatever, or even questions, please feel free to dive in and add to the conversation. I see a
Yeah.
raised hand, Natasha.
Yes, I totally agree with what you just spoke. And the sad part and the reality of it is that I grew up the same way. Grandmother, staunch Christian woman, even to this day.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just, I don't know if she really understood or knew how to talk to us. And but it wasn't until I got older and I was seeking, I was like, I don't know the answers, but I know something is wrong and I want to change it, but I didn't know how to change it because I was so used to praying, 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 praying,
Yep.
and I didn't know how to talk really. So then I started seeking personally therapy, and I was just like, why nobody ever told me that this was okay? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it wasn't until then that I started understanding that God can't bless anything you don't do. And I wasn't doing the work because I didn't know how to. So I definitely understand what you're saying.
Yeah. That's
That is a word right
yeah.
there, Natasha. God can't bless what you don't do. Wow.
I hate.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I often say I grew up saying the phrase, uh, if you don't what is it? Faith without works means nothing, right? If you say, you know what, oh God, please pay my rent, please pay my rent, but you don't go out and get a job to pay your rent, then you're not going to be blessed if you want to put it in those terms. So, it's good that we are now going into churches and pastors and priests and rabbis and even are talking about things that are germane to people's faith and what their belief system is. I know that then if you raise your hand, I will stop talking if you raise your hand. But I just wanted to say that when I was diagnosed years ago, as I said, there was no NAMI. So I decided when after living pretty successfully living with the diagnosis, I wanted to kind of give back and tell my story a little bit. And no buts. So I was looking for some vehicle somewhere where I could kind of talk about and tell people, what I went through and hopefully give some hope. Well, when I first started with NAMI, I was going to the Gold Coast of Long Island, right, which is really, really affluent, white, um, uh, you know, folks that, were dealing with mental health issues. And I was good. And I talk about mental health and I was doing that and I felt good about that. But then after a while, I said, you know what? I wanted to go to places where they were not being fed. And that was my community. That was Hollis, Queens. That was St. Albans. That was some places in South Jamaica, in Queens and stuff. And I said, you know what? I want to go there. And then NAMI, then the program Sharing Hope came about. And that clip that we showed just now was one of the first clips that we show at the Sharing Hope program, where it's usually African Americans and people of the African diaspora come and talk about things that are germane to what was happening in their life. And so we kind of let everyone in on something that we begin to talk about, right? And so it's really, really a safe space for people to share about anything they want to talk about, but also there's a common bond. So people say, well, why do we talk about what's the difference between Black mental health and
Don't open.
white mental health? And I'm going to throw that out as a question. What is there any difference? Should there be a difference? What do people say to that?
And I see Ray had his hand raised.
Right?
So he may have a different question prior to answering that,
Sure.
John. So
Okay, sure.
go ahead, Ron and Ryan.
Hi,
I think Ryan was first. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yes.
what's up, guys? As someone who's a white person, I noticed that as someone who has a lot of like African, I'm not trying to like say the wrong phrase, but I noticed that this topic is not talked about enough, where it's we our world right now is like such a racist place that just benefits the white community more than the Black community, and it's honestly so horrible how that minority mental health is not talked about enough. So I just want to just really quickly say shout out to all the people who put this together. But when it comes down to, is there a difference between white mental health and Black mental health? The answer is yes. Black mental health is not talked about enough. It really is not talked about enough. It's so sad how someone who is white like me has more access to resources and has that specific basics of privilege. I may be someone who has a disability, but I do not get judged the same way as someone who's Black when it comes down to mental health.
Wow.
Thank
Brian,
you so much,
thank you for
That was
that.
awesome.
So yeah, that was really good. And just thank you just for your, your sensitivity, you're just willing to talk about this. And so yeah, we're going to talk more about that as well.
Absolutely.
Ron, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you, John. I want to say thank you, a big thank you to everyone, and thank you for sharing that video, Thurston. That video hit me hard. So many things were shared in that video that were extremely important. I want to see that video several times over, so I could get it again. And I think this is being recorded. It says
it is, and I'll put the link in the chat also for everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Men in my family did not talk. I was raised in a Caribbean family. My mother and father are from Jamaica, West Indies. And as children, we were considered pick-me. We were supposed to be seen, not heard. And that's kind of what I think we grew up with, what was, I think Thurston mentioned, what was done in the house, you couldn't talk about outside of the house. And my father ruled with a hard hand. And there were many nights I would be woken up in bed from electric cord hitting me on my legs and on my back and on my body. And whelps would be like 2 inches off of my legs the next morning, and off my back. And these are things that, we weren't supposed to talk about, but can affect your mental health. And if we don't get a chance to talk about these things, we hide them, and it doesn't help our growth. And I'm so glad we're able to share in this forum and in other forums that are coming up with NAMI. I feel blessed that we can talk about it. Going back to the last question, I don't want to take up a lot of time. Ryan answered it very well. Yes, there is a difference between white mental health and Black mental health because of our histories, because of our treatments. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to be quiet now and listen to other people's reactions because I'm blessed just to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Sharon, do you want to say something?
Yes. Okay. I can really relate as a Christian to some of the things that are hurtful. They try to help you, but it's not, they use the Bible and it kind of hurts. So for example, I'm sitting with some sisters from the church and they're like, oh, being mentally ill is a type of demon possession. And I was like, no, it's not. And they were like, yes, it is. And they're trying to use the Bible to explain how Mary, or I'm not sure it's Mary or Martha, who was demon possessed, and it was just so hurtful to be told that, and it also hurt me because I had a hard time getting up on time for church. So literally had to have someone call me, and then maybe or maybe not I get there. But it was just so frustrating because they knew that I had an illness, and they still didn't understand. They weren't gracious. They weren't forgiving. They were actually judgmental, and it ended up hurting more than helping.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing. Yeah, Priscilla, did you want to say something?
Sure, thanks. I'm Priscilla, and I'm here because I think it was before COVID here locally. I went to a weekend workshop that was in person, and that was pretty swell. And I like the title of the working with how to communicate with people who have needs, but for whatever reason, maybe are scared, unsure, not trusting people that they might benefit from going to. And I thought this might be of use. I know a lot of people like that now in Ithaca. It's a small community, and I do a lot of volunteer work. I live right downtown. I run into the people, and I'm pretty personable. So I have a lot of hellos and friendships and a big whatever, and a range of people, if you will. And the other thing, just to let you know, that I was born in the middle of Tennessee on an isolated 200-acre farm. My father called my mother the old hen, and my mother called my father the old devil. So, and talk about communication. I mean, they were born in 1907 and 1910. So, and their family was out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And so there was no talking in my family whatsoever. I have 4 siblings, and I've talked to them about it. And yeah, it's like, no, I can't even remember any communication. And going into the mental health was, well, I became, if I would have known what it was, I would have said I was an alcoholic at the age of 16, because that's when I started drinking. And I think I lost track. But what happened with my son, he was born in 1967, and he found his father deceased in the living room, and he walked in, and obviously it was a scarring event. And he ended up getting expelled from his senior year in high school. And it took me, I had to go down there. He was in Cambridge, in Massachusetts at the time. I had to go there at the time. And it was several years, many years afterwards, that I realized that the principal of the school was a white blankety blankety blank racist. My son was.
I was like, oh, this is.
You're good. I'm muted. You can keep going, Priscilla.
Okay, my son his father was from Colombia, and he obviously looked Hispanic. And so that principal in his behavior actually expelled my son out and didn't let him graduate from school, even though, you know, his father had died, et cetera, et cetera. So it ended up that a few years later, my son got diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he spent his last 2 years of life going from one mental hospital to another, and finally checked himself out to a friend up in Vermont, and ended up killing himself there. And I know for certain that he was up there because he knew that there was a gun in the house. And the thing that I'll say about that experience with these mental health hospitals, if I would have been able to shoot someone through the telephone wire, I would have killed people. You know, the answers that I got from asking for help were just positively so spurious and so demeaning that yeah, it's too much to think about right now. But so right now I'm working with people who are, or I'm connected to people who are various paperwork they have, and probably a lot of different homelessness and different all kinds of things. And I've talked to a few of them personally, and it's like, you know, I don't go there. I tried once on that service and they didn't help me, so I'll never go back. And how to take these stupid little pamphlets, I'm now updating them in this location and getting more information because I'm accustomed to doing that sort of work. And but how to take that kind of information and like the Ithaca Free Clinic, for one, I go. And then when I was talking to someone about it, I don't go to no doctors, which I understand. I don't like doctors either. But how to, you know, how to overcome fear. And I know all about fear because I lived many years in the fear zone with my alcoholism. But how to overcome fear of how to help people overcome fear when they may have a resource that could offer something if they didn't have the fear that held them back. So I think that's what caught my eye over here. And just why I'm able to talk to you guys today is that I lucked out and went to Goddard just right at the time that it was Women's Voice. Beside that, before that, I had lived all my life without saying a word. And once I got all this stuff, and I think somebody alluded to it earlier, is that one of my papers, I'm reading all these interviews that those women interviewed various and sundry people. And one day I got just pissed off, quite frankly, because I'm like, I am not interviewed. Nothing about my family, my background is in there. So I took a 6-week period and I interviewed myself. And when I handed it in to my advisor, he was like, oh, you interviewed yourself. I'm like, yeah, I really get angry if I'm not in the book. Thank you.
No, I love that, Priscilla. And sorry, John, because I know Deandra has had a hand up and we want to make sure we get to it. But I want to make sure we put a pin in something you were talking about, Priscilla, because I think it's very important. And I'm looking at Natasha's comment in the chat. Very important. I want to make sure we come back to that. But DeAndrea, I'm sorry.
And DeAndrea, just before you go, we are going to go until about 8 o'clock. And so I just want to be mindful of that. Also, we're going to have, I know people might want to continue. We're going to have a hard stop at 8:30 if people want to continue. But I want to be respectful of people's times.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say that. Okay, Tim.
Okay, hi. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, it's I'm so grateful that NAMI exists, especially in my time. Growing up, I wasn't really able to express myself the way I'm able to now. I was a very quiet child growing up, dealing with emotional distress, dealing with past trauma, dealing with my father's passing. A lot of the times I was to myself because no one really understood what was going on. Um, as as well as during the school, it was hard enough to accept myself when no one else was accepting me. Of course, this was the teen years. I'm also from New York. I'm from Jamaica, Queens, and dealing with mental health at that time, like in the early 2000s, was almost non-existent. And high school was rough because I was also in special education, dealing with the learning and reading deficiencies. It was kind of one of those days, one of those times where I wasn't really sure if I would make it out of the situation I was in. Thankfully, I had a great support group. My mother, God bless her, she's always been my rock. And as I got older, I was able to be hers as well. But I think in terms of mental health and in terms of, you know, why it's so important to acknowledge it is because you can't see it. It's not visible. You have to really know it from listening, from talking, from connecting, from letting expression tell, people's stories. Because I've had, incidents where people say, I've looked normal. How can I have these certain things? Because I was diagnosed at 23. So, and I was dealing with a lot. So what I still have is bipolar 1, generalized anxiety, PTSD. Those are the things can take a toll on you. They can be very, aggressive, and it can sometimes hinder you or hold you back from doing certain things. But after really talking to someone, after really finding out what the things that are wrong with me, well, not wrong with me, but the things that are holding me back, now I've learned how to cope, how to meditate, how to, you know, be myself without losing myself from
Mm.
just having it. So I didn't want it to make it a crutch. I didn't want to make it something to hold me back, you know. And though it's still a struggle, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying amen, and thank you for
Yes, on you.
being
Yes.
so open. One of the things that I like about doing our Sharing Hope program or just going doing counseling and stuff. When you give people the opportunity to share and talk, it's really a great thing when you have that forum. And I'm glad you came down and thank you for sharing like you did. I think Sharon, you want to say something? Oh no? Oh, I got the end. Okay. Thurston?
Yeah, listen, I wanted to first of all, I want to ditto what you just said. DeAndrea, thank you so much for being vulnerable, for sharing, for opening up. That's so important. This is why we create forums like this, because we all need a place to be able to share, right? Me personally, I have surrounded myself with people that I feel comfortable sharing with. I can't share everything with every individual, right? But um, of course, I have my wife. I have uh, I've mandated myself to keep at least 4 to 5 other men in my life that I can go to and that gives a level of accountability, right? So there are men that I respect that I know if I get off track, they can call me on it. They can let me know, and I'm going to listen to them because I respect them. If it's somebody I don't respect, I'm not going to listen to them, and I'm going to live my life because I'm a man. That's just what we do, right? So, but I wanted to circle back to this. Natasha left a comment, and I think this is very important for us to touch on and to go back to, because Priscilla talked about the fear aspect when it comes to um engaging in services that, and I agree with you, Natasha, there are services available. So often we say there's no services available. They are available, but like it said in the video, we're not necessarily at as a community overall so trusting of doctors, of therapists, of
Mhm.
authority because of our history,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
it's not just something that's in our head that's holding us back. It's past experiences that are real to us, right? So we have to try to fight against that fear that holds us back. And I just wanted to read, Natasha, if you don't mind, I wanted to read your comment. She says, I totally understand what Ryan is saying from a certain standpoint, but my life is definitely great in that I do have the resources needed to succeed regardless of my race, but I can understand why others may believe Black people might not have the resources others do. But we do. Many of us live better than many whites in this country. However, our cultures may be different when it comes to receiving and showing mental health needs. I think that was very powerful and very real, right? I often say, even in my community work, when I'm working with coalitions, prevention coalitions, and such, most of our communities do have the resources that we need. But getting people to take advantage of them is a whole nother barrier that we have to really, really tackle, right? And so when I'm not sure how many people are from New York on the call, but when New York did the bail reform, right? It stopped the ability for the courts to mandate people to services. Um, I understand why, and I understand the things that go behind it because of the inequity in our court systems. And in my role then, I was speaking to my colleagues and other therapists about the pressure that is now on us to create environments that people want to return to, create offices, and the way that we approach therapy, uh, do it in a way that people will want to come back. They see results, they want to come back because they see their understanding is better, their life starts to get better. But it's broken down to even the way we design our offices, right? You're a therapist, you may be in a large organization, but if your building feels like the client is walking into social services or the DMV or this bland environment, they don't want to come back there. They haven't had good experiences in those places, and you have to create it even down to the color of the paint on the walls, the type of furniture that you put in your organization. And these are some of the conversations that I had and tried to have with larger organizations, other therapists. It takes time to change a mindset. It really does take time to change that mindset. Sharon, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah. Yes, I was saying to piggyback on to what was said earlier about mistrust of the medical field. It's true. I mean, I saw the movie Henrietta Lacks. I mean, I highly suggest it. The movie and the book I read, and it's very disturbing. And also Syphilis Experiment, which also happened to African American men. But it's just the lack of the trust. It's like there's a lot of abuse, misinformation, lies, being taken advantage of. And so when I first got sick, I was so they had to like sit me down. It's like a whole, the whole medical field, and they're like, Sharon, and they're explaining it to me. I'm like, yeah, but I know about the syphilis experiment, and I don't want to be a part of that. And
Amen.
so I still deal with that. Like, is this really, it's really for my benefit, so I try to stay on top of my medication and everything, but at the same time, my mom and I, we question everything. So
Yep.
I just want to address that real quick. Two things. One, kind of like a cultural competency. When I was diagnosed, I don't think I ever, the first, 20 years, 10, 15 years, I never saw a Black therapist, nor did I see a Black psychiatrist. And that affected me, right? So I had a chance to go to a hospital to speak at the doctors every Wednesday. They have these grand rounds where all the doctors get together and they have someone speak about some issue. When they brought me in to talk about mental health and how I was treated when I was in the hospital, and give the doctors some insight as to what could have been done better or whatever. And it was amazing because I remember when my mom, when we were being treated early, the doctors were very kind of, they were all Ivy League educated and stuff, and they were using words and terms that just was scary to my parents, right? So, and then also there were some things that I was dealing with that they had no idea. The fact that I went to I went to all white high school, and it seemed like one of my difficulties was that it seemed like I had to be twice as good just to be equal. So it kind of made me excel, but it also gave me a chip on my shoulder. The doctors could not understand that. Couldn't understand, well, I can't grasp it. So I definitely I talk, and then the whole mistrust thing. You hit the nail on the head, Sharon, when there's history behind that. And you mentioned a couple of things, right? But that thing all about, it was considered an illness to want to be free. Now we might say that was the past, and that was, it's better now, and it is. But there's still some thoughts, those antiquated kind of thoughts that a lot of white clinicians, white doctors, white people in general feel. So it's good that we are now having clinicians like Thurston and like some other part of the Sharing Hope series. There's a 3-part series. First part, we have an open conversation. The second part, we bring clinicians and therapists, Black, and they talk about how the different responses that they get from their clients, from their patients. That was one thing, and also just quickly about the resource thing. I think that I don't believe that there's the same resources in every community. I think that when there is a disparity about, if we go to an affluent white area as opposed to an impoverished Black area, the resources are not the same. The treatment is not the same. When a lot of times, what happens when you go to, and this is just a general thing, and you go to a white area. I mean, I think that they're more kind of like sensitive, so they'll call the hospital. But when someone's having a problem in a Black neighborhood, especially going to Queensbridge Housing Project, different things, first thing they call is the police, the cops, right? And that's a different mindset. So there's a lot of things that go into our mental health that creates trauma, and I can go on about that. But so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I was just sending a text over. Judy, I saw your hand up earlier. I wanted to make sure I gave you time to speak if you still wanted to.
I was listening to John. So one of the neighborhoods we work in is Queensbridge Houses, which is the largest housing project in North America. And I just want to say this, that although there might be resources, what happens is the resources come into the communities. But once that money is diminished, the resources go away. And so a lot of times people don't trust us. They don't trust what you say. They say you come in here just for a minute, you're going to take pictures, you're going to show off this, that, and the third, and then you're gone, and then it's no more. So the trust factor is very, very real. We can't say that we're going to bring this to the community and then it's just there for a year or two and then you leave. What happens? There's no trust. No, I don't want to see a therapist. No, I don't want to see a doctor. No, you're not giving me money for education. And then, like you said, the first thing they do is they call the police. And then there's a whole nother issue that comes to the table. So trust is a very big factor.
Amen.
Absolutely. Judy, I just want to say that we did a series of events in Queensbridge, but we brought Meta World Peace, Ron Artest, who's from Queensbridge, right? And he was doing his book. If you guys don't know who Meta World Peace is, he's a famous basketball player. He's one of Kobe Bryant's best friends, and he lives with a mental health diagnosis. In fact, when they won the championship, when the reporters were asking him, so what do you attribute to the success? He said, well, I just want to thank my psychiatrist, and that was a good thing.
I remember that.
So us going into Queensbridge was, he's a Queensbridge guy. Even me, as someone who didn't live in Queensbridge, I'm Black and all that, it's still, there's a distrust factor. Plus, and NAMI didn't have the best reputation, and that whole idea of, coming to the community, and then getting the photo ops and then leaving. That was one of our biggest concerns, one of the biggest concerns. And that is still something that, and we're working on getting more and more folks Black folks involved with those things. But what happened to me was I became part of Queensbridge. I was coming to basketball games, I was going to barbecues and stuff like that. And I became kind of part of, everybody didn't have time like that, but it was good that they trusted me. So when we went and did our support groups and grief sessions and stuff like that, I was part of it, and there was the trust there. But that's a big factor.
Yeah, can I just piggyback a little bit on that? And so Judy, as you were talking, it really impacted me because in my work with my previous organization, we were got some grant money, we were grant funded to start a program. And there was a neighboring community that we wanted to go into. And I was the face of this program that we were doing. So I went to some of the community leaders in that area, and I got almost verbatim what you just shared about coming into the community, taking a bunch of pictures, makes it look good for the funders, and you can post it and all of that. But as soon as that grant money is gone, the program is gone, right? And trying to explain this to leadership, to a place where they get it, because sometimes, okay, if you're a large organization and you have this program going on, okay, you got the grant funds to start this program. You have to be thinking about, even before you start the program, you have to think about sustainability. How do you build this to where if the money ends, you can still keep the programming going? Even if that means you have to dip into some of your savings or your funds that you have on the side. And these are large organizations. Sometimes they have 20, 40, $60 million sitting inside. You can take a couple of $100,000 to sustain this program until more funding comes to sustain it further, right? But this is why these conversations are important, and this is because we're on with NAMI. It's important to understand the way to enter into these spaces is not just creating a program and saying, here, take this, but you have to go in, you have to do some assessments, you have to do some really asking the community, what are you seeing? What are you dealing with? What do you need most? And then you create the programming to provide what they say that they need, instead of just going in and saying, take this, take this, take this. This is why these conversations are important. There is a way to enter these communities and have sustainability behind the programming. But it does really take very intentional efforts, intentional intentional design, right? And it's not hard. It's just not the way it's normally been done for decades, for generations, for centuries. We have to start changing how we enter and how we seek to serve people, because the way you serve people in Garden City is not the same way you serve people in Hempstead. It's just not the same. It's not the same.
Can I just say this? Although the
Sure.
communities may look the same, they may have different issues that need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
So what happens in Queensbridge might not be the same that's in Woodside. And so the needs are different. So when you talk to the community and they say, these are the things that we need to pay attention to that specifically.
Absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
given the climate that it is now, and I don't want to talk politics, it's even harder right now trying to maintain and keep it stable. So
Absolutely. I think that
Wait, I'm
one
sorry,
of
say that again.
one of the things, since I'm a Queens guy and I grew up in Queens and I had relationships with pastors and politicians and stuff like that, that's kind of good that, my question was not me coming in and saying what we're doing for you, but partnering with pastors and their churches and their community-based organizations, and not going there with the arrogance that I am going to come and bring our Miami wisdom and that just doesn't work. So we have to have buy-in from the community. We can't just walk in there and say, this is what we have, and this is what we're going to do. No, we have to have that community kind of feel that you're part of this and you want to sustain it. Sustainability is very. I wound up, after the 3 sessions, churches were asking me to come back. So I went. I wasn't going. I wasn't getting paid or anything, but I was going back. But we want the continuity, and I didn't want them ever to say, "Well, John came in, and where'd he go?" So that's
Right.
We'll continue working on that.
And the thing to understand, I'm sorry, Lee, I'll come, but the thing to understand is that doesn't dismiss the value that these organizations
Amen.
bring, because they come with a history of very valuable programming and understanding and connections, right? So the assessments just helps to guide where you take your expertise and how you present your expertise to those communities, right? Because we're talking about what needs to be done for it to be more effective and everything. These are the things that need to be done for it to be more effective. And it's not to say that the expertise held by these organizations is dismissed in our communities. Absolutely not. But how we enter in and how we navigate it is very important. I'm sorry, Lee. I saw you had your hand.
Don't be sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't find my hand. I was looking for the hand to put up, and
Okay.
Liz will tell me later where it is. I couldn't find it. Anyway, what I am taking from everyone who's spoken so beautifully tonight is that the conversation has to continue. And you're right, Thurston and John and Judy. We need to ask for what we need. First, we need to know what we need, and that's here. That's talking in groups and support groups and getting together and identifying our needs, and then working with advocacy. I can't think of a time as a volunteer for NAMI that I have considered advocacy more urgent, because we stand in an economy where little hospitals are going to close when Medicaid money is cut.
Yep.
And there will be even fewer resources at a time when we need more resources. So we are very blessed. We have sitting with us David Sills, and Gail Sills. We're blessed by both of them. And we have other board members here. I saw Marianne, Gail Karen. I think that's it. And we have a visitor from Michigan. Sue Maida is here with us tonight. So NAMI cares all over the country, but I'm worried about our part of the country and our conversation and continuing it. And I invite you to watch our website for upcoming advocacy events, because we're going to need them and we're going to need each other. So that's all I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you.
Priscilla, I see you had your hand raised.
Hi, I just wanted to say that here in Ithaca, I have seen various and sundry over the years. I've been here 30 years. People and small groups get grants, and admittedly, probably getting a grant is very difficult nowadays, but getting grants and maybe, and I've been to some of the groups and I'm like, what is the point here? And maybe they got a second grant and then it was finished. So I really like what I heard, whoever it was that said, what do you need most? Asking the community and an intentional effort and design for sustainability. It's just like, I've seen it happen too many times here in Ithaca. Bloom. And then it's like, what happened to that? Well, I've been to a few of them and I can tell you what happened. They weren't ready. They were not ready to reach out and grab whoever they wanted to. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm hoping that what has been started at NAMI with the Sharing Hope program, well, actually it's an initiative, it's not a program, continues. And I think that we have a wonderful ED and we have a wonderful board chair that is doing this, and a lot of places are not doing this, and for whatever reason. But it's important that we have these groups that are, and we have also a group called Compiendo Esperanza for our Latin brothers, and then there's also an Asian group. So we have these groups that are homogeneous, and they talk about things that they're dealing with. We need to sustain those things, and I'm afraid because of the climate, what's happening with funding and lack of funding and stuff, that these programs and these initiatives are going to go to the wayside. So that's our concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, listen, think about what it costs all of us to be here tonight to talk about it, right? It didn't cost much. We just needed the time to jump on, to have conversation. This is sort of like the bedrock, the foundation of the type of work that we're talking about. And so moving forward, now everyone knows I am, by no means am I living in a fantasy land thinking that we can do everything we need to do without money. We know we need money. Absolutely. But in the design of these programs and these initiatives, there needs to be the thought around, again, I'll say it, sustainability to move forward. And there is a way to do it. There are models out there. We've done it with other things, with other initiatives that I've worked on. There is really a way to get it done, because every community has community advocates that are willing to do the work. And we don't want anyone to do the work for free, but sometimes it may call for that for a period of time, right? But whenever we can pay somebody for their efforts and their work, we want to do that. But because of NAMI's far reach, I believe NAMI is perfectly positioned to take the lead in these areas and really do it with intentionality and effectiveness, right? To go into all different areas and present what the communities need. That means Black, Latino, Asian, white, whatever community we go into, It should be, and I'm saying we, like I'm part of NAMI already. Like, okay, so I'll just
You are.
right. So
Okay, we got you.
we need to be I believe we have the ability to be that effective, and you know, if Queens Nassau is the one that takes the lead and really pushes it, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Makes the creates the model that can be used around the country, perfect, right? But it really does take some intentionality around that. And I know it's 7:45, we have a certain stop time, but I want to make sure that anyone that's on the call, maybe you're sitting there, you're listening, we want to give everybody a chance to chime in, to say anything that's on your mind, anything that stood out for you, any questions that you may have for us, for NAMI, for another peer that was on the call that said something that hit you. Um, Please take a moment, think about it if you want to just ask a question. Yes.
David?
Yep, David. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
you're mute.
muted, David. Sorry.
Still
You're
can't hear. You're muted.
We can't hear you, David. We can't hear you.
Can't hear you, David.
We can't hear you, David. Hit your microphone button in the
hold
bottom
on.
left-hand
I think
corner.
Gail got him. Gail got him.
We go.
Bottom left.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
There
Is
you
that
go,
better?
Dave.
Okay, first and most important, I want to thank all of you who arranged this for having this tonight. And I look forward to more meetings tonight, like tonight. I've been in education for the last 400 years, and I learned more tonight than I did in I shouldn't say all, in many of the workshops I went to, many of the lectures I went to, and I'm being very honest, most of the people who did the lectures and workshops were white people who did not share the same experiences that you had. And you guys opened up my eyes very much to what's going on. One of the things that I found, and not with NAMI, but I found with other organizations, when people write grants, they often don't consider the people who will be affected by the grants to see what they want and what will please them.
Yep.
So something that has to be done where you involve the community in the writing of the grants.
Yeah.
We worked, NAMI worked with a district. We wrote some grants for them, and they were all not accepted. And that was partly our mistake because we didn't consider speaking to the people and saying, what do you want?
It's great.
Yeah.
So and again, I have to thank all of you for tonight. This was a real eye opener and a very important eye opener for us.
Awesome.
Judy?
Judy has a hand up. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Judy.
I have a question. So since we're talking about mental health and working in Black and Brown communities, the big piece of this is a youth component because the young people are really suffering big time. We're not only talking about family issues, and we got the gang issues, and then we have drugs, all of those particular issues. And they are very hard to reach. Like, I don't want to talk to no therapist about nothing, or they don't want to share what's happening in their family life. And you know stuff is going on, but you can only do but so much around that dynamic. Is there anything that you guys have that speaks to the young people? What's happening with them?
Sure. One of the first things that I got kind of certified in was a program called Ending the Silence, where we actually go into schools, right? I was going to schools and telling my story. There's a curriculum, there's a movie that we show, and we actually engage the kids, high schoolers. I went into a middle school, and on my own, I went into elementary schools. But we could start talking about mental health at an early age, in a simple way, just about your feelings and your emotions and being able to share and stuff like that. I've gone into schools in Hollis, Queens, and again, giving the kids a chance to talk about things will lessen future problems, I think, down the line. So we're continuing to get people, bring people in like Thurston and Thurston and Hempstead, and we've been doing things for kids. I was a former teacher, a special ed teacher, so I know that that population were like throwaway kids. You know, they didn't care about them, and that's the reason why I wanted to be a special ed teacher. So we're going to try to do more and more. Partnered another in our own voice program. We have the Unites program, and maybe Lee or Liz, you could talk more about that. But that's a great thing, Judy, to talk to children, to talk to kids, and to be out there. I am certainly an advocate. I love kids. John loves the kids, right? But
Right.
I really think that that's a great plan, and we're gonna work on that some more. You know?
Can I ask a question back to you, Judy, regarding the work that you do and in the area that you do it? Do you have relationship with the local? And I know the city is different from Long Island. We have all these districts. You guys have the Board of Ed, right, in the city, right? So, do you have relationship with the local schools at all?
Okay, so just long story short, so our organization deals with gun violence, and we hire people that are formerly incarcerated, which
Right.
makes it challenging to bring them in the schools to share the story with the young people. So a lot of times we have to bring the kids out from the school to our office to talk to them. Everybody doesn't want to do it. So when they do the background checks on a lot of them, we get cut. They can't go into the schools to do the work. So they have to come outside. But we find that those that were formerly incarcerated are better able to reach the young people because they understand the dynamics.
Yes.
Kids are trying to do the same things that they have gone through, and they can explain to them. But a lot of times it's challenging. We do have partnerships with the schools. Being in the crisis management system, our budget got cut from the schools. So a lot of that got taken away. So that's what we're dealing with.
Right. And it's funny because Quinitza
Yeah, she's
just
urban up
posted.
now.
Right. Okay. Right. And so I asked that question because even though you are a gun violence prevention program, and I understand the people that are hired to do the work, you're right. They are more effective in pushing that narrative because they've been through it all. Most times they know people in the community, they know the children's parents a lot of the times, right? And so as they're speaking, there is a validity to what they're saying. But even thinking about partnering with other community-based organizations that may be able to do some of that work in the schools to navigate students to your programming, right? We do prevention coalitions out here on Long Island. I know there's some in the city as well. Those coalitions are filled with organizations that you can find all types of services that are needed, and creating sort of a partnership to where you continue to do what you do, but you also have connection with other organizations. Maybe it's counseling, maybe it's in-school programming. We have a curriculum that we designed called Pervasive Prevention, and it really talks about prevention language, tools, and how to start even from pre-K, giving young people the language, the tools, and of course, you don't bombard them in pre-K with the stuff that you would talk about in high school, right? But it may start with coloring books. It may start with, coloring books that have certain words in it, right? It's just a part of their everyday curriculum, but it needs to be pervasive. It's not once a year we come and talk to you because by next week they've forgotten everything that they've heard, most likely, like most of them. But if it's a part of a curriculum It doesn't overtake the teacher's curriculum. It doesn't push everything else to the side, but it is embedded into the learning environment. By the time that pre-K child gets to middle school, they have the language that they need um, to get out of situations where someone is offering them some gummies or weed or whatever, right? You work on those things, and by the time they get to high school, they become your prevention advocates.
Right.
Because they've learned this their entire life. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done. Again, there needs to be money, and even more than money, there needs to be buy-in from the schools and such.
So we are winding down. I want to just kind of like give people last words, anything they want to say. Also, just to give you some things that are happening with NAMI. We are doing a barbecue on the 17th in Eisenhower Park, and everyone's invited. There's a registration that you could, just so we can figure out how much food we're gonna bring. Also, we are doing the Pathways to Hope conference, which is on the 22nd of August and the 23rd. And what Pathways to Hope really is dealing with is how your faith, and we talked a little bit about that today, how your faith aligns or is reconciled with your mental health. And we have a panel, 2 days of panels of people who are going to share their stories. We have a rabbi. Last year we had a priest, and folks just talking about faith. I talk about my journey with faith, and I know Thurston and I met in church, but as a coping mechanisms. But we talk a lot about that. So it's a really good program. From 10, it goes from 10 to about 3-hour apart. That we do the live things from 10 o'clock to about noon, about 2 hours, and it's really, really a great program, and we have a great time. I'm gonna give the floor to anybody, and also I want to give the floor to Liz to say anything that you want to say, because I know you've been manning the chat, and Liz is typing furiously, answering questions, answering questions. I know she's getting questions from people that she's answering, but Liz, you want to say anything?
Yeah, a number of things. I honestly can't remember initially why I raised my hand, but one thing I do want to say is that, with the funding and sticking around, John knows we talk about this endlessly, that, we are constantly looking to funding. But as Thurston was saying, the way the funding works is we receive a mission statement and a request to write a grant for a specific request. So that's what we apply for, that, the request that's already been noted. US government works the same way. They do innumerable studies. OMH puts forth a grant based on 10 years of study of something that happened 10 years ago. So to Lee's point, advocacy is essential. If our legislators don't know the core of our issues, they're not going to ask for those funds. Believe it or not, some legislators do great work. So we really do need to have that full cycle of people advocating for change, really sticking with us, and all of you sticking with NAMI. Become a member, join our movement, as they say, and help us make the change that we all need. We understand the changes that need to happen, not every one of them, but and they're going to change over time. So we have to do it together. We can't do it without all of you, and we want your help. And Thurston, if you've got great ideas to get more funding, of course we want to talk to you. Of course we want to do that. More creative ways of doing it, because it is a linear process, and to start that linear process for funding and a little differently, always welcome for ideas and opportunities and change. And yes, as John said, we have our Barbie coming up. We have Pathways to Hope, this very inspirational event that we've done. We've been, lucky enough to receive funding to do it for the 3rd year in a row. And all of these links are pasted in the chat. I also pasted already to our page as the meeting was going on, the video shared, one of the Sharing Hope videos is on our website, posted on the monthly meeting. And we will be sharing the recording of tonight. But
And then
Just
Lee?
know that NAMI's here for every one of you. Again, we say it all the time that you're not alone, and we sincerely do mean it, because we do attend, you know, Fortune Society's reentry meetings. We do try to attend all of these different community action meetings and participate and get the messaging out there, and start groups that respond to the needs of those communities. So
Lee?
Thank you, Liz. I just want to say before we go that Thurston, NAMI has a coloring book.
Really?
We have a coloring book, and
I love it.
I'm going to send it to you.
Cool.
John,
we'll
have
put
you
the
seen
link in
it?
the chat.
I haven't seen it, but I want it because I need that. Coloring is
And
soothing.
it is, and you warmed my heart because my goal is to introduce this to young children.
Cool.
That's where we have to start.
Yeah.
All the good stuff starts with
Absolutely.
young children. So
Very cool.
thank you.
Very
Thank you.
cool.
Thank
I
you.
know I remembered. So NAMI Queens NASA is part of an initiative called FLARE, which is a middle school mental health program, which is
Ooh.
not social emotional wellness, it is mental health program. And
Mm.
so if anybody in any of these school districts you want to talk to more about this, I'm happy to share. And we're going to start not promoting it, but trying, you know, educating superintendents and school leaders about the program. It is free, so that we can help a few communities test and implement this new program. So it deals with mental health specifically, not just social emotional learning.
That's
I would like,
awesome.
I would like to know how I can get 2 coloring books. I'll pay for them.
I got you, Ryan.
Okay.
We'll send them to you.
Okay,
We'll get
thank
them. So, Thurston, famous last words?
Listen, I just am extremely honored to be a part of this. I look forward to us doing more of this, getting more people, even more people from around the country to join this conversation. This is how we create change. And I just want to thank everyone that joined, that shared. Even if you didn't share, thanks for hanging around and listening. This is important work, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So thank you all. And Liz and Lee, thank you again. I appreciate it.
I just want to say,
and we thank you all.
yes, yes, we
And
thank
John
everyone.
and Thurston, you are our heroes of the evening. Thank you so much. And everyone who came,
Yes,
blessings
I
on you.
just want to
Blessings.
say that this is what it's all about, you know, talking, sharing, being vulnerable, and also being critical, right? And I've been with NAMI, and I've had some ups and downs, but I'm here. And I know that there's good work being done and all around, especially in Nassau, Queens, but also all around the country. So we want to continue that. I want to personally invite everybody to the barbecue, but also to the conference. It's going to be really, really good. Every year it's been getting better and better. So I hope everybody comes. It's all on the website. You get that. So I just want to thank everybody. I appreciate everybody coming. We're going to be doing more things, and yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Would you guys be able to share the link for the barbecue?
It's in the chat. Can you see the chat?
If you could just post it, that would be great.
Sure. So go on to namiqn.org.
Right. That was what I was gonna say.
And it's right on the homepage.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thanks, Ryan. We'll talk some more.
Yeah, that was
Sounds
great.
good. Thank you for the compliments. I really appreciate it. As someone who's just a political science major who's studying business and psychology, today's topic is really needed. So just shout out to you, John, and shout out to O'Neill and Liz and everyone else. Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, Ryan. We appreciate you, buddy.
We're still open. We're still open. If anybody, I'm going to have a hard stop in like 5 minutes. No, but if anybody wants to say anything, still here. I'll stay. Liz, you've been working all day. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And I took a nap today, so I'm good. But no, but appreciate it. Thurston, thanks. We'll talk.
Yeah, this was great, John. Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
And
Liz,
Thurston and I Thurston started the Brothers Like Us movement now. We're gonna call it a movement.
Yes.
And it's just incredible to have brothers from all around, the city, country, people coming from other parts of the country, talking about issues, man to man. Iron sharpens iron, and what we do on Wednesday nights is transformative for a lot of folks, and that's you, Thurston, and appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, man. This was great. We'll definitely talk again. I'm sure we'll have a call and talk about how everything went, and I look forward to it. All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to pick up my wife from the train.
Don't go yet, Sean.
I'm going to end it all.
Thurston is an incredible singer. Come on, no, really. So, you want to hum a few bars? No, but I just said that we met at a retreat years ago, and I met him because he was singing, and he actually, I said every time he sings, he makes me cry, because he has this incredible voice. So I appreciate you, bro. We'll talk.
I love you, babe. Love you, man.
It's all good.
Love you. All right. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your week.
All right. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.